It's the Waiting for Next Year.com podcast, Hard Knocks, episode 4. We have one remaining. We are not sitting in a car at an undisclosed location. We're Skyping because you're at an undisclosed location, Dave.
Well, it's really that Chris Clem blew our cover. And that once he suggested that a big mob of people could mob the car, we then had to split up like the president and vice president at important events. So, yeah, that's why.
Yeah. So, but you got to watch Hard Knocks from a different time zone. How did that feel?
It felt all right. It felt good not to have to worry about, is it up yet? Is it up yet? Is it up yet? Because I was on a plane when it was put up. So I was fine by the time I got to watch. And I was also far enough past that when I brought up Twitter, there were no, not that there are spoilers, but there was no pre-commentary. I always find myself not wanting to read any opinions about the episode because I'm about to do a podcast where I do the opinions about the episode, and I don't want to steal anybody's stuff kind of subconsciously.
Yeah, usually the reactions to Hard Knocks on Twitter are like, Haley! Exclamation point, exclamation point. Or Greg Williams! Or Greg g-g-g-g-g-g-g-g.
Well, that's because a lot of people probably have just handled Milagranite and Limestone, and their energies would have them do that.
Oh, dear Lord. Are we going to start there? Are we going to start with Devin Cajuste and his crystals?
I want to start there, yes. Because maybe this is a good thing that HBO is doing for us. That they're like, you know what? Maybe you guys don't want Devin Cajuste around. Maybe it won't be that sad if the guy who really believes in rocks making him lightheaded, maybe he's not the best guy to have on the team. They're doing us a favor.
It's like if you're like at the airport or a restaurant by yourself and you make friends with somebody next to you, and then at the last minute they're like, hey, by the way, I wanted to tell you about a business opportunity. Just buy all the products you buy today, but buy them from Amway.
Yeah.
You can own your own business. That's the way I feel about like the magical crystal people. And I mean, do what you want, I guess, if it makes you feel better, but I don't believe in the power of crystals.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where I think, I know people who like them because they're pretty to look at, and it's kind of a fun thing to do, like astrology is kind of a fun thing to do, but you know those people take it all with a grain of salt, and it's even half tongue-in-cheek. But he literally said he was getting lightheaded from holding a rock.
Which is hysterical.
The only way you should feel lightheaded from holding a rock is if the rock is 150 pounds.
Or in his case, 250 pounds, but yes.
Right, yeah. So, no, the same thing is like you said, you meet somebody, you think, oh, they're pretty nice, and then you find out something wacky about them, and like they're a Steelers fan or something, and you're like, oh, here we go.
Dear Lord. No, the big one nowadays are the people who have turned into apothecaries with essential oils.
Oh, the essential oils.
I'm not discounting the quote-unquote essential oils. I think they're probably really nice. I think they probably smell good and they probably make you feel good. But I don't think that they're magical or that you can combine them into magic-emitting elixirs.
Right. No, I like that too. Like, I'm sure, they smell good and stuff like that. But that's not going to help your foot pain.
Yeah, let's get a hold of ourselves here.
Anyway,
that's like my theme for life nowadays is let's get a hold of ourselves here, okay?
Well, admittedly, you're a bit of a curmudgeon.
Yeah.
But still, no, I definitely. You were hoping that the Hard Knocks people would have done a little bit of a kinder edit with him on those crystals, where they're like, well, I like this one because it gives me an aura and an energy, and I can get energy from the moon. Okay, that's a few little statements, and like seeing a teammate go, "Oh yeah, I'm getting your energy from you," and seeing him talk to Baker Mayfield and say, "Hey, you're our leader. You're giving us energy." Okay, the energy concept that floats around Devin Kajust, and then he's like, "This one gives you courage." I'm like, "What? That is not a Miller Lite. Like that's what gives you courage."
No, it's a can of spinach, like Popeye. And he's so cut. He's going to be cut, so cut. Because even though he hasn't been able to play during the preseason and we haven't seen him on Hard Knocks, like I think the incumbents in this case have actual game film. And Devin Kajust has been with how many teams on how many different practice squads, and he's just now learning the proper technique for blocking and everything else. And I mean, Seth DeValve has actual game film with the Browns.
Yeah, that's one of those things that, like, I have a feeling his height and weight and like physical stats show up, and GMs go, "Oh, okay, that's a tight end." But yeah, as we saw in this episode when Fells was teaching him blocking technique, you're like, "You're learning that now?" Like, I'm not. I don't know it, but I'm not an NFL tight end.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and this is the realization of all these NFL players who are at the bottom half of rosters, is that you are one of the greatest football players in the entire world. You're one of the worst NFL players.
Right. Because I'm not going to do the math on 53 times 32, but that's the only number that get to make teams. So you're in the top, whatever number that is, because I'm not going to do the math. But yeah.
And guess what? Because you're one of the best football players in the world, but one of the worst ones in the NFL, a bunch of beer drinking losers and people on Twitter get to make fun of you when you get caught. Sorry.
Right. And the other thing about that is, like, we also have this defensive end who is going to play, and he needs someone to block him in practice for training camp. And like that's the other unfortunate thing, is like a guy like Brogan Roback, who will probably make the practice squad, but like, we have all these receivers and someone needs to throw balls to them, and the coaches that we have aren't good enough. So you'll be here to act as a human jugs machine.
Yeah, so let's talk about a real position battle. For a second week, they kind of hit on the whole Carl Nassib, Nate Orchard. I think the Browns in their meetings with the Browns ahead of filming, they must have tipped them off that this was going to be a position battle with a cut situation. Because it seems like they keyed in on this. And I guess you and I could have told them there was going to be a position battle, because after Myles Garrett and Agba, you have to start making choices, and it was probably always going to come down to Nassib and Orchard. But I'm going to be sad when Nate Orchard gets cut, but he's going to get cut.
Well, I mean, you think it's going to be Orchard?
I do.
Yeah, I guess it is, because his main catchphrase this whole season of Hard Knocks has been "damn it." Like that's what you heard out of him most, is him not making a play and yelling "damn it." So you might be right.
Yeah,
he's a guy that I think will get picked up, though.
I think so too.
Somewhere.
I
mean,
think
you
so
hate
too.
to uproot the man's family, but yeah, it's not like a situation with like a Kajust that probably won't get picked up by another team. Once maybe he will, maybe he won't, but he seems more like on a team during training camp type guy.
Yeah, and Nate Orchard, I think he's in the final year of his contract. The money's not that much different between him and Nassib, so I don't think it'll necessarily come down to that. But they've got one more year of Nassib under contract, so maybe that extra year of control, even though money isn't going to be the deciding factor, that extra year of control might help them. I don't know.
Might be the tiebreaker, really. I mean,
but Nassib's had a better camp and a better.
No, you're right, and even in tonight's episode, it was Orchard yelling "damn it," and Greg Williams talking about Nassib saying that bitch will do that sometimes.
Golly. The Greg Williams obsession with the word bitch is something else.
Sure is. Like, he's got that in their breakdown clap.
And it's like the pronunciation is everything too. It's like bitch.
Yeah, it's a 2-syllable word. But it's not biatch, like Snoop Dogg. Like,
no.
It's almost getting to the point of the Wire style shit.
All right. So what other things do we want to discuss here? Are you officially tired of Brogan Roback yet?
This was a manageable chunk of Brogan Roback. I was fine with Brogan in this episode. Again, the editing on this show is so good that they show Erin Andrews talking to Cajuste and then walking away, and they make sure to get a full shot of her in her sideline outfit, and then they talk to Brogan Roback how he went up to Erin Andrews. And then I think every man in the audience went, I probably would have introduced myself to Erin Andrews had I been in his position and been excited that she knew who I was.
Yeah, that's actually kind of amazing. But speaking of editing, what did you think about the 74-minute slow-mo pass from Baker Mayfield to Rashard Higgins?
And yeah, are they just trying to show that he throws a good spiral? Or were they just short on
the slow-mo guy getting his one shot for the entire series? They're going, you get one in the 5-episode run, make it good, but we're not going to waste a bunch of time on just pure slow-mo. And he's like, all right, well, this is my money shot.
Right, I'll set up all the stuff for this one. The lighting's pretty good. Yeah, I would have rather than like cut in with 2 more extra minutes of Bob Wiley, frankly.
That pass could have been a clip show unto itself. Like, they could have cut away from the pass to interview somebody and then cut back to the pass, and it's just that slow-mo was so long.
Put it in like a picture-in-picture, like they do during games sometimes, and play it. They could have played a commercial, showed it up in the top right, and now rejoining the pass, already in progress.
I was thinking of even like those old school late 80s, early 90s sitcom clip shows where they didn't have any new episodes, so they all sit around and they go, and remember the time when we ate hamburgers with Carl? And then bling, 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 and they take you back to a previous clip from the show. Yeah,
this could have been our still going. Yeah.
I mean, who in the world would take clips of a bunch of old shows, plop them together, and pretend like it's worthy of being watched and or listened to?
Wow, that's a low blow. The only reason that's a low blow is because it was one of those things that sounded like background, so nobody knows what I'm talking about. The Friday Fumble is coming back this year, and as a treat, I thought I would make a kind of greatest hits episode for people in the last couple of years who hadn't listened. This was some of our funniest stuff. That sounded like a great idea, and then 3 hours in front of a computer later to compile a 1-hour podcast, and I still haven't done any of the voiceovers or intros or anything like that. I was like, this is a much better idea in the Slack channel or on Twitter than it was in practice of actually putting it together.
It works for real radio shows and podcasts with real producers who have it's their full-time job to make notes of clips. They would have so when I used to listen to Opie and Anthony, the producer would do a show rundown every day. So like every 15 minutes there'd be a note that like Anthony talks to Opie about blah blah blah. And so when you went to compile best ofs or worst ofs or whatever they wanted to call them, they would just scan through their notes and they'd be like, oh, well, that was minute 17 on April 4th, 2014. And they just go pull that clip.
And even if you had those notes, it would still, they'd have the producer go pull that clip. And I had to listen through stuff, scout stuff, remember, oh yeah, we did do that. and then find out when it was, then go pull the clip. And I think it will be rewarding in the end. But
well, I didn't plan that insult, by the way, either. I just kind of it appeared right in front of me, and I took it.
Well, it ended up being a good plug for the Friday Fumble anyway. So,
all right. So, what did you think of the Rookie Show? Obviously we'd already seen Baker Mayfield's impression of John Dorsey. What did you think?
That was burying the lead because, I know his last name was Jackson, the receiver.
The no-name receiver doing the Jarvis Landry impression.
That was the highlight of the Rookie Show for me. That was amazing. When the guy with 2 broken feet is running routes, and then they slice in the clip of Todd Haley telling them that it's at 2/3 speed, and then they have the 2 boots drag the toe.
The 2 boots dragging the toe.
That was legit funny. And
that was everything.
That was so good.
I also enjoyed, even funnier than the John Dorsey thing, and by the way, I did enjoy when he was putting every piece of gum in his mouth at once. But when they were making fun of Carl Nassib and Baker Mayfield does the uncomfortably long pause and then drops an F-bomb, that made me laugh out loud.
I also quite enjoyed the quote Todd Haley jumping up and down yelling he was offsides.
Yes.
You tell him, Hugh. You deal with it, Hugh. Yeah, that was exceptional. It's funny. The clip we all saw was Baker Mayfield as John Dorsey, which is really just an excuse to say buddy boy.
Yeah.
And chew gum. But that was the least funny part of that. And they were all really good. So excellent job by the rookies. And then Hugh Jackson saying, "Oh, that was the best ever." I was like, "You've seen 2 of them or 3 of them, you know."
Yeah. I also enjoyed, by the way, the fact that we got to see the other side of it. It wasn't just Todd Haley yelling at Jarvis Landry. We also got to see him kind of make up with them. We got to see those guys, those guys laugh at themselves when their fight was brought up in that skit. Like, people draw this is part of the ongoing narrative of what you and I have talked about with Hard Knocks, is people drawing conclusions based on very limited information. And now I feel like this episode showed a lot of the other side. Like, yeah, they yell at each other, but it's not a big deal to them.
Well, and even in this episode, you saw Todd Haley yell at Jarvis Landry and then say, "I'm sorry for yelling."
What a puss, man. What a wimp.
It's like a beta male. It's like a family for real. Like they are becoming an actual family where there's those dynamics and the hierarchies. And that pushes me to one other thing I wanted to talk about, which is they are really pushing Jarvis Landry to be a leader. And I'm hoping that he wants to be a leader. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I think it's a dangerous thing because you're right. They are pushing him, and they're doing so, I think, because he got that big contract. But just because he got a big contract doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be a leader. It's like we've talked about this over the years, like in our scrubby jobs, our real world jobs. Like, you have a company, and your best engineer isn't necessarily going to be the best department manager just because they were the best at the job that needs a manager for the department. And just because he's the best receiver doesn't mean that he's the best to be the leader of the receivers.
Well, and the same thing, we have a guy who works for us, who's worked for us for 15 years, and he works on second shift, and we've said, "Hey, do you want to move to first shift?" "No, I like second." "Hey, do you want to be the foreman of second shift?" "No, I like coming in, doing my job, and leaving." And management is not for everybody. But if you look at the receiver room right now, with a Josh Gordon and an Antonio Callaway in there, it's going to take, who else would you put in charge? So the thing that I'm hoping is that we, either in the process of signing him as a free agent or in things we haven't seen, he actually expressed interest in leading a room like that. because there are different types of free agents you pick up. You pick up someone. There's different types of free agents you could pick up. There's the hired gun, Des Bryant type, who is just supposed to come in and plug into your offense and go. Or there's the I want you to be the foundation of our team type guy. And hopefully that's what he wanted, because that's what they're pushing him for.
Yeah, I hope. By the way, there was a small interruption in the middle of that where my phone rang. So, but I think we heard like 98% of everything that you just said. But I'm just
I
warning
paused and reframed it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was surprised that we didn't get more Josh Gordon. They kind of started with it and then went away from it.
And I don't know if they were trying to build drama, and we'll see in the last episode. But they showed Josh Gordon looking at the playbook on his tablet, and I wasn't sure because you couldn't really see his face who was next to him. And then they just did a quick cut to Jarvis Landry. Are they trying to build drama that Jarvis Landry doesn't like Josh Gordon? Because I don't think that's true in any way. But like they did that kind of cut of, oh, all the attention's on Josh Gordon, but then they didn't put all that much attention on Josh Gordon. You are correct.
And maybe I'm sure they filmed them. Maybe there just wasn't anything there.
I'll tell you, seeing him go up and give his gloves to those kids, those are some happy kids.
Yeah. I still want Josh Gordon to be Josh Gordon. I just in my soul, in my brain, I know I can't count on it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Any Josh Gordon you get at this point is a bonus, you know?
Yeah.
It was just really cool to see if anybody could have been in a situation where they're like, I'm going to keep quiet, I'm going to go on the sidelines, I'm going to stand there, but to come up to some random kids at the game and stuff like that. Now, the funny thing is, like, there's two kids and their dad, and then there's the one guy who's like 5 feet over, who's just a grown man, who's like, I will also like to shake your hand.
Yeah.
And it's like, that would totally be me. Absolutely. But it's like, he came to do something cool for the kids, and then there's some other random dude that's like, hey, I want to shake your hand too.
Yeah. So the preseason game against Philly, the Browns defense dominated, and it was exciting, and they executed the game plan, and Myles Garrett went crazy against that left tackle and everything else.
Oh, man.
Did it take any of the shine off of it for you that we found out that, not that they had inside info, but that they had like kind of regular season game planning level info, and maybe were preparing in a way... Sorry. We're preparing in a way like somebody would during the regular season, as opposed to, just a regular preseason type game.
Well, I agree and disagree at the same time, because the information that he gave wasn't, or at least that they showed us, wasn't about schemes and plans. It was about, okay, Ertz hit him hard a bunch of times and he'll kind of get mad. And left tackle, he doesn't trust his feet. And the quarterback likes to come in from high, so watch out for that. It wasn't, well, they like to move this guard over here and try to run a pick pass across the middle. Like, it wasn't that kind of stuff. It wasn't X's and O's. It was individual traits of guys that really could be picked up on film if you were doing it right. So half and half. It's not like they had a cheat code for the game.
Right.
You still have to execute. You still have to be physically able to do that stuff. Myles Garrett, though, just the one clip of him knocking Vaitai back and doing the swim move inside of him, like, there's just a moment there where he just is instantly free, and Foles kind of senses it but can't do anything about it. And I got almost like scared watching it, like, oh shit, if that guy was coming after me, that was just, he's incredible. I hope he can maintain that level.
I do too. I'm really distracted. My dogs are going crazy. I need to take a little pause break.
No problem.
All right, and we're back.
Awesome.
So now we are heading to the final episode. I'm starting to go through withdrawal already because like this might be the last time we ever see the Browns on Hard Knocks ever again.
Yeah, they got a lot of other teams to get through before they're up again. And I thought there were 6 episodes, so 5 episodes. Like I'm even disappointed by one already. So yeah, it's this level of access has been very, very interesting, and I really enjoyed it. The Browns they're building the Browns show still on YouTube, and there was some interesting stuff on there as well, but it's not going to be the quality and in-depth nature of the Hard Knock stuff for sure.
No, it's not. They just, as good as the building the Browns stuff is, it's not the same thing, and they have no incentive to kind of cut it together or put the same amount of production value into it. I won't say the unbiased nature of Hard Knocks because I don't think it's like unbiased necessarily, but
right.
There is kind of there's like a third party aspect to it that
Absolutely.
won't exist when the Browns do the building the Browns.
Right. When your hardest hitting person on there is Nathan Zagura, and no offense to Nathan Zagura, I think he's pretty good, but like
he's hired by the team. It's just different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I can't believe there are only 5 episodes and that we're done after this one. But I kind of think this is the way the NFL is going to go, and that they're. I think you're right. We will get a certain itch scratched that with this because I think the Browns they'll be addicted to it. They'll want to keep it going, and they obviously have.
Well, it's helped them through some sticky situations this year.
Yeah,
really.
It has. I just don't know if they realize that or realize it enough.
When's the last time you thought about Corey Coleman?
Yeah, that's really true.
Because that was listening to old Friday Fumble episodes was talking about Corey Coleman. I was like, oh yeah, he got traded for nothing.
In any other preseason, I'd still be harping about that because I have a tendency not to let things go.
You? Why would this team cut talent when they're so talented? And it's just he didn't want to be here and he wasn't that good. Okay, and we've accepted it. We've moved on.
And I guess with that, I would rather waste time talking about Devin Cajuste than wringing my hands over Corey Coleman.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of makes sense, but I hope the Browns realize it. I think the league is headed this way. I think every part of society is headed this way, where they do realize that old adage, something that I've said about the Browns for years, that if you're not talking about yourself, you're leaving room for people to talk about you.
Right, and the technology has come so far that 10 years ago the team would own, a certain level of production equipment to do their own in-house stuff. And now if you look at the building the Browns stuff, it's ridiculously well made. And it's just because that technology is so accessible now, it doesn't have to be a major production studio to put together something that looks really professional.
No, it's true. You and I with our phones have more audio and video production technology than the people had who won Oscars in the 80s.
Right.
I mean, it's true. You could have an easier time filming a production movie starring Al Pacino than anybody who directed Al Pacino in the 1980s.
Ooh-ah.
That's a perfect way to end. So live, we never disclosed your location. Do you want to tell people where you are?
I am in Las Vegas, Nevada for a luxurious 36 hours. I have a meeting in 2 hours. And then another meeting in 3 hours, and then I spend the night, and then I come back home.
And you decided to waste 30 minutes with us.
Yes, I did, because, you were going to bring in, like, Namina in, and he would have been like, oh, well, when the Dolphins were on. And nobody wants to hear that.
Do you want to steal Namina's joke?
Which one? I don't remember it now.
So, did you hear about the NFL matchup that's happening this year? Because the Bengals are going to be playing the Dolphins. I guess you could say it's going to be Houday and the Blowfish.
I will go back and check the archives. I am pretty sure that was a Friday Fumble joke.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that I will go back and check the archives, because if it isn't, it sounds like us. Am I right?
I like how, like, just because it's the same tone, that you're just going to take credit for it.
No, I will. I will prove it. I remember it.
It's a really great joke. So I don't know. I have no rooting interest. I hope either you or Namina wrote it.
Fine. The funny thing that came about because we were all complaining about the hard land of America earlier, and if you're not familiar with the Bengals and their Houday chant,
Oh,
it originated that it was positive, but then it turned into who they think they're going to beat them Bengals. So the day is the opponent. But then now their slogan this year is seize the day, DEY.
right.
And that's just a terrible, that took 15 seconds in a marketing meeting. And they were like, no, go with that one. So as
It's
long
almost
as
it's almost as bad as All in 216.
hey, it worked.
Yeah. It's always it's hard to come up with a slogan every year.
No, yeah. All in was a good one.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, the 216 part, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so don't complain about Hardland of America, because at least it's not seize the day.
Seize the DEY. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awful. All right. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for jumping on from Vegas. Thanks for listening, everybody. We have one more of these after episode 5 next week, and then hopefully Dave and I keep talking, because I missed podcasting with my buddy.
Well, we're going to have the tear-filled episode next week if we have to watch all these cuts, and that's going to be sad. That's the toughest part of the way Hard Knocks works. Is it's always the last episode that they go from 90 guys to 53 guys, but it's like you gotta watch it.
Actually, it is a little bit different, because in the earlier days of Hard Knocks, there were 2 rounds of cuts. They would go from 93 down to 75 or whatever, and they obviously wanted to give guys more chance to stay in camps longer, which I guess I don't know if that's good for them or not, but it is weird that it's all going to be in one big wave of cuts.
Yeah, that GM's office is going to be pretty busy.
Yeah. I mean, like, what, 30... So, like, 3 guys will go to injured reserve, and then roughly 35 get cut, and...
7 become practice squad people?
Yeah. Man, the math sucks.
Yeah, it does.
All right. On that note, now we're really going to go. So talk to you next time. It's been the waitingfornextyear.com podcast.